Time now for the markets with Leighton, and there's one crop there seems to be no shortage of, and that's wheat.
That's right, Ernest, and we'll talk about what the abundant stocks of wheat mean and if that could change. Also this week in the markets, new numbers are expected to confirm there are fewer cattle in this country. Rice prices may have a bottom, and U.S. grain exports pick up. The USDA released its biannual cattle inventory report Friday afternoon, one day after this edition was recorded. Analysts polled by Reuters expect that the report will show a beef herd that is still shrinking in number and is likely to be the smallest since 1952. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley discussed this information as well as the recent on-feed report with me on Thursday this week. John Michael, let's talk newest to oldest this week, beginning with this new cattle inventory report came out Friday. We are recording this prior to that, but if what we think the information that a shrinking herd is still confirmed in that, what could that mean for prices in this sector?
Well, it's just the underlying fundamentals are going to lead to steady to higher prices. We've talked about a reduction in the total supply of cattle, which trickles through the system to lower supply of beef. That pushes prices up, of course, if demand remains constant. But the shrinking herd is expected, especially given the drought-stricken southwest portion of the United States. You know, that's the cow herd is expected to drop about 2.5%, which is the lowest. If you look across the range of numbers for all the different categories, that's one of the biggest hits is in the beef cows and beef heifers retained to be put in the herd. That's expected to drop the most. If we see that, then yes, the supply will continue to dwindle over the next number of years, and that's should lead to steady to higher prices at the least.
And of course, for meat packers, they're in the middle of all this as well. This situation that they really don't have any control over.
That's correct. You know, they deal with ups and downs, but overall, the herd is going to definitely lead to a tighter supply.
All right, let's back up 1 week to that last cattle on feed report, monthly report. What did that say as far as placements and on feed?
Well, the placements was finally one that we saw where this tighter supply of shrinking herd kind of was noticeable. The drought conditions really pushed a lot of cattle into feedlots as we closed out 2011, a lot more than we would have expected. But this past report, we saw placements down about 6%, which was mostly expected, right in line with expectations. It's the first substantial reduction in placements year over year since the May placements, which would have been the June report. So we are starting to see this reduction of total cattle supplies start to hit the feedlots.
All right. So to kind of recap here, a tight beef supply for how long? Any idea here? It could be a while.
Well, definitely it's going to be a while. We are seeing, inflows of cattle from Mexico, which is allowing feedlots to fill the gaps. But the cow herd is not one that you're going to overcome shortly. It's going to take at least 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 years to really start build the herd back up.
And yet we've got exports climbing very strong in the midst of this declining supply.
The silver lining, the exports in 2000 for the coming year expected to exceed last year, which we're back above 2003 pre-BSE levels.
Another sector of livestock is the subject for this week's trivia quiz on Farm Week. How much of U.S. poultry production, chicken in other words, is located in Mississippi? Is the answer 5%, 10%, 20%, or 30%? I'll tell you in a few more minutes. The rice advocate from the U.S. Rice Producers Association is reporting that analysts think a bottom is being put in as far as that market's prices. Traders note that Asian prices are stabilizing and that local production is starting to realize the lack of potential for next year's crop. Analysts seem to believe that sideways movement may be the bill of fare for the next few weeks. However, there does seem to be a feeling that at some point the rice market should go back up. Wheat contracts were able to post solid gains on Wednesday from support of the lower U.S. dollar, according to DTN. However, analyst Elaine Cubb is less than enthusiastic about near-term prospects for wheat. In fact, she says there is not a whole lot you can say bullish as far as the wheat market right now.
Globally, you're talking 30% stocks-to-use ratio. In the U.S., you're talking a 41% stocks-to-use ratio. We have no shortage of wheat. The futures spreads are very wide between the March and the May contract in Chicago is 21 cents. That's effectively 10.5 cents of carry per month for the next months in spring. Basis is very wide. The spread between corn and wheat is also wheat is actually trading at a discount to corn, which you would never expect in a feeding world where protein should be worth something.
After weeks of inactivity, the pace of U.S. grain exports has picked up, according to DTN. 500,000 metric tons of corn sold over the past weekend, and reportedly a number of soybean cargoes, perhaps up to 1 million metric tons, were reportedly sold to China. Reports indicate the downsizing of crops in Argentina and Brazil due to weather seems to have kicked some export business back to the U.S. Another positive for American sales is that it appears both Russia and Ukraine have reduced the amount of grain they will export. Thursday morning, cotton futures were trading slightly ahead despite new dips in the weekly export sales numbers. Also this week, the USDA reported U.S. all cotton gin through mid-January was trailing the year-ago level by nearly 16%. Fast-paced harvesting of this season's cotton crop in most areas has facilitated ginning and classing, according to new reports. We will now close out going back to the subject of chicken and our trivia answer. 10% of U.S. poultry production is located in Mississippi. B is the right choice of all these possible answers.